Shalom everyone. We're continuing our learning of Sefer Yirmiyahu, and we are beginning Perek Yud Gimel. And once again, it happens to be in the middle of a nevuah, and as I've said many, many times, the chapter division is of non-Jewish origin and does not have any particular significance. These nevuos generally are about the Chorban, about the Golus, about the suffering of the Jewish people, but interspersed within these nevuos of Chorban and Peranios are, number one, comfort, Hashem loves us, and above all, the capacity to change everything with sincere tshuva. So here, Yirmiyahu is given a commandment to engage in a certain behavior. Pasuk Aleph, Kai Amar Hashem Elai. So again, Yirmiyahu is writing this years later, perhaps even after the Chorban, and he is recounting what Hashem told him. Kai Amar Hashem Elai, so did Hashem say to me, Haloch v'kanisa lecha ezor pishtim. Go to the market and buy a linen azor. An azor is a belt or a girdle or a gartel, something that you tie around your waist. V'samte al mosnecha. Place it on your loins, meaning across your thigh. Ubamayim lo siviyehu. And no matter how sweaty it gets, perhaps it was even an undergarment, no matter how dirty it gets, do not wash it. Let's first look at the behavior, then we'll try to understand it. And Yirmiyahu says, Va'ekneh es ha'ezor kidvar Hashem. I purchased this belt or this girdle or even this undergarment as Hashem commanded. V'yasim al masnai, I placed it on my loins. Vayihi devar Hashem elai shenis lemor, and then Hashem gave me a second command. Kach es ha'ezor asher hanisa asher al masnecha. Take the belt or the girdle that is on your loins. V'kum lech parasa. Go in the direction of the Euphrates, which is northeast of Yerushalayim. V'tomneu sham b'nikikasela, and bury it right near the Euphrates in a cleft in the rock. Now, the Mai said this is a pretty far trip, so it's not clear, is he mamish told to go all the way to the Euphrates or in the direction of the Euphrates? A little unclear. But the pasuk says, "Va'elech v'atmeneu b'paras." I went and I hid it, I concealed it. B'paras, that means in the river channel, or at least next to the river channel. Kasher tzivu Hashem osi. Vayhi miketz yamim rabim, and it was after many days. Doesn't say how long. Vayomer Hashem elai, kum lech parasa. Go back to the Euphrates. V'kach misham eso ezor asher tzivi sichel l'tamno sham, and dig up the belt or the girdle that you had concealed there. See what it looks like. V'elech parasa, I went to the river Paras. V'echpor, and I dug up the place where I had concealed the azor. V'ekach eso ezor min hamakam asher tamantiv shama, and I took the azor from the place that I had concealed it, and as you would expect, v'hinei nishchas ha'ezer lo yitzlach lakel. The azor was decomposed and rotting, and was not able to do anything. You couldn't wear it anymore. It was essentially rendered useless, lo yitzlach, not successful in any way. So this was a tangible physical behavior that Yirmiyahu was told to engage in, that actually involved a lot of traveling, a considerable amount of time. As the Ramban points out in Parshas Lech Lecha, the Nevi'im often carry out their prophecies in a physical way, because that makes it more real. In other words, until that point, the Nevuah might be rescinded, it might be retracted, but the physical Maisa gives a finality to the Nevuah. although the emes is negative nevuos are actually never final, but they become more in the direction of finality through a maisa. And the maisa of the Azor is a mashal for Bnei Yisrael. Now, what is it a mashal for? So that's the next series of psukim. Pasuk Ches. Vayihi devar Hashem elai lemor. Hashem then said to me, Kai amar Hashem, so says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kacha ashchis eskaon Yehuda v'eskaon Yerushalayim harav. So too shall I destroy the glory of Yehuda and the glory of Yerushalayim. Ha'am hazeh hara hameyanim lishmo es devarai. This evil nation that refuses to listen to my words. Ha'helchim bishrirus libam, who go after whatever their heart sees, whatever they want to do. Shrirut is a lesson of seeing. Vayelchu acharei Elohim acherim, and they follow other gods, which are not real. Other gods can include money and power. Liyavdam, to worship them. Ulishtachavos lahem. V'yihi ke'ezor hazeh asher lo yitzlach lakayel. They shall become like this worthless girdle or belt that is incapable of being used by anybody. Now again, though, it still doesn't make clear why are you comparing the Jewish people to this rotting, decrepit, linen Azor. So the key to that is Pasuk Yud Aleph. Ki Kasher Yidbak Ho'ezor El Mosnei Ish. As a belt or a girdle or an undergarment, whatever it would be, is attached to the masnayim, to the loins of a man, Cain hidbakti elai eskol beis Yisrael v'eskol beis Yehuda. So Hashem said, you are like my belt. I have attached you, the house of Israel, which is the 10 tribes, no longer here, and Beis Yehuda, which is the 2 tribes of Judah and Binyamin. Num Hashem, says Hashem, lios li liam, to be my nation, u'lashem v'lisila u'letiferes, to glorify my name, to praise me for the beauty of God. V'lo shameyu. So, again, this is still, I think, a curious metaphor, and the picture is not immediately apparent. God is describing the Jewish people as his belt, as his girdle. One interpretation is that if you understand it as a decorative belt, God is saying the same way a belt decorates and beautifies a man who wears it, kind of a nobility belt, so too you are my belt because you were put into the world to glorify me, and instead you became a belt that is spoiled and rotten and incapable of doing that function. So that's one understanding. We are the belt of Hashem in the sense that we decorate and beautify his name. There's another way of understanding it, that even if you understand that the Azor is not a belt, but let's imagine an undergarment or a girdle, so it's not a question of beautifying. But the one thing the Azor does is it gives support to enable a person to walk or etc. In that sense, and I'm basing this kind of on the Nefesh HaChaim of Rav Chaim Volozhiner, we give strength to God. Now, God is, of course, omnipotent. Hashem doesn't need us in any real sense. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world where through our mitzvahs and through our avodah, we activate the divine benevolence and compassion that goes into the world. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just as a para, a cow, wants to give milk more than the baby wants to take milk, Hashem wants to be native. Hashem wants to do good. But Hashem's hands are tied until we do the mitzvahs and the masim tovim and the limud haTorah. that releases him. So we are the belt that holds God up. But we became rotten and spoiled by our connection to Avodah Zarah. That's why it mentions the belt was not washed, it was filthy. The metaphor is we're filthy with our own sins. It is put in pras, which is a makam Avodah Zarah. The belt disintegrates. So too Klal Yisrael disintegrates. So that is mashal number one. That is the mashal of the Azor of the belt. Now we have a mashal number two, which is not a behavioral mashal, but it's simply a verbal mashal, meaning it's not something the Navi physically does, but it's something he expresses. This is Pasuk Yud Beis. V'yamarta aleim es hadavar hazeh. You shall say to them the following: Kai amar Hashem Elokei Yisrael, so says Hashem, the God of Israel. Kol nevel yamale yayin. Every jug should be filled with wine. A jug here is a klei cheres, an earthenware vessel. Fill the earthenware vessels with wine. And when you say that to the people are going to ask you a question. V'yamru elecha, they will say to you, Hayadoa lo neda ki chol nevel yimale yayin. Do we not already know that earthenware vessels should be filled with wine? Apparently that was the normal use of these earthenware vessels. V'yamarta aleim, and Hashem says to Yirmiyahu, when they ask you that question, that what do you mean when you say all the earthenware vessels shall be filled with wine? Tell them what this means. Kayamar Hashem, so says Hashem, Hineni mamale es kol yoshvei haaretz hazayis v'esam lochem hayeshem leDavid al tisai v'es hakehanim v'es hanavim v'es kol yoshvei Yerushalayim shikarain. You are the earthenware vessels. You, the people, the kings, the Kaihanim, the false prophets. You are earthenware because after all, Adam Yisayde Me'afar. What is man? But made of dirt, made of clay. And when I will fill you with wine, that means you will be filled with drunkenness. Again, this does not mean physical drunkenness, but the tsarais will be so great. And the confusion will be so deep. It is as if you will be wandering around in a stupor, not even knowing how to think. And then Hashem says, V'ni patstim ish elochiv, and one brother will smash against the other brother. Imagine earthenware jugs that fall against each other. They crack each other. So too, there will be so much confusion that Jew will turn against Jew. Now, we know that in the Bayis Sheni, we talk about Sinat Chinam, but in reality there was Sinat Chinam in the Bayis Rishon as well. Jew will turn against Jew. You will destroy each other. And parents will fight with their children, and children will fight with their parents. Nam Hashem, Lo echmael v'lo yochus. I will not have compassion, I will not have mercy. Lo arachem, I will not have pity. Me'ashchisam, from destroying them. So that's the second mashal. The first mashal is the girdle, and the second mashal is the earthenware jugs. Now the nevuah continues in Pasuk Tesvav. Shimu v'hazinu. Listen well. Al tigbo. Do not make yourself so arrogant as if you don't need to take musar. Ki Hashem diber. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving you a message. Tanu l'Hashem eleikeichem kavod. Give honor to Hashem. Respect His wishes. Obey His laws. This is your last chance. Baterem yakshich. Before it becomes dark. Before the light is taken away. Again, this refers to Golus and the Chorban. Ubeterem yisnagfu ragleichem al harei neshef. And before you will be hurting your feet as you walk in the dark hills of your Golus, because we will be led away from Eretz Yisrael in chains. and will be climbing mountains and hills barefoot without shoes. And that is called the mountains of darkness. So Hashem says, give kavod to Hashem before the darkness comes, before your feet are injured and bruised on the mountains of darkness. Because then, v'kivisem la'or, you will be hoping and yearning for the light, for the redemption. V'sama l'tzelmavis, but instead it will be the shadow of death. V'shis li'arafel, and will become dark. V'im loi tishma'uha, and if you don't take my advice and listen to the words of God before it's too late, b'mistarim tipke nafshi mipnei geva, in the hidden places my soul will cry because of your gaiva. V'damoa tidma v'tered eini dima, and my eyes will tear up. Ki nishva eder Hashem, because the flock of God, Klal Yisrael, the nation of Hashem, will be captured and killed and destroyed. Now this is a very, very powerful pasuk. If you don't listen, I will cry in hidden places. Who is the speaker of this pasuk? So as we've already seen many times in the psukim of Yirmiyahu, sometimes it is not clear if it is the Navi that is talking about himself, or the Navi is talking in the name of Hashem, and this is about Hashem. So the simple meaning, the Pashut Pshat is, Yirmiyahu HaNavi is talking about himself. That Yirmiyahu HaNavi takes this very, very personally, as every Navi should, as all of us should, and said, I'm begging you to listen, to do tshuva. And if you don't, I will cry and weep and sigh because of your refusal to turn to Hashem, because of your gaiva. So according to that pshat, it is referring to Yirmiyahu HaNavi. However, the Medrash Eicha actually says this is Hashem speaking. And there's a very powerful Medrash that says HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a hidden place that even the Malachei Hashares do not have access to, where Hashem cries and is misabel over the Churban HaMikdash. And the reason Hashem has to be misabel, so to speak, in a private place, is because if even the Malachei Hasharis could be margish, the tsar of the Shekhinah, if Hashem would reveal his tsar, the world could not function. The world would go back to Tehyu v'Vayu. So Hashem has to hide his grief. He conceals his grief, kavyachal, within himself, in order not to be machriv the olam. Again, we don't have time to be marich in this, but the Piazetzner Rebbe, the Yesh Kodesh, the great, great holy tzaddik, Rav Klonimus Kalman Shapira, who died in the Warsaw Ghetto, or was deported from the Warsaw Ghetto and killed, writes that sometimes in an Eis Sarah like the Holocaust, what is actually happening is Hashem opens his private makom so that Klal Yisrael can share in the weeping of HaKadosh Baruch Hu over the Churban HaBayis. And in a very strange and hard to understand way, The Sora itself is the greatest kiruv, because we are experiencing the grief of Hashem that is normally non-expressible. It is normally totally contained from within the Shekhinah, but now he opens the door to let us in. So again, it's a very, very powerful, moving idea to try to deal with the aspects of tragedy. But now Yirmiyahu continues. Emor lamelech v'lagvira. Tell the king and his queen, his wife, hashpilu shevel. Lower yourself. Sit down on the ground. You are no longer going to be king or queen. Ki yarad meirashosechem ateres tifartechem. The crown of your glory will be taken from your heads. Arei hanegev sugru. The cities of the south will be delivered to the enemy. V'yein posech, and no one will be able to liberate them. Haglas Yehuda kula haglas shalomim. Yehuda shall be exiled totally in shleimut. Su'u einechem u're'u habar mitzafon. Lift up your eyes and see the hordes of the enemy approaching from the north. Remember, Bavel, Iraq, is northeast. Ayeh ha'eder nitin lach tzayin tifartech. So Yirmiyahu speaks mockingly to the king. Where is your flock that were the sheep that gave you Tiferes, that gave you glory? Ma taimri ki yifkod alayach, va'at limat osam alayach alufim l'rosh. Ma tomri, how will you save yourself? Ki yifkod alayach, when the enemy visits you, takes possession of your people. V'yat, and you yourself taught the Babylonians to become your masters, because this is going back to the fact that throughout the book of Malachim, the Jewish kings would often make treaties with the Umos HaOlam. They would worship their idols, they would give gifts, etc. So what are you going to say when they come for you, when you yourself habituated them to be your heads? Halai chavalim yochezuch kamo eshes leda. You will be seized with convulsive birth pains, like a woman in childbirth. But again, there's an interesting remez that although labor pains can be excruciating, they are the process that enables birth. That's what Chavlei Mashiach is. So Hashem is merames that the Yisurin of the Galus can lead to a Geula. Pasuk Chaf Beis, V'chi somri bilvavech. When you say in your heart, again the Jewish people personified as a woman, Madua karauni ela. Why has all this happened to me? And the answer is, don't even ask the question. Beraiv avaynech. Because of the multitude of your sins. Again, speaking to the Jewish people as a woman. Niglu shulayach. So shulayach are like the bottom of your skirts. The bottom of your skirts has become exposed. So again, this is a very mavuzah way of talking. Your nakedness has been exposed. Nechbasu akevayach, your legs have been uncovered. Meaning all of the hypocrisy you tried to keep private will be revealed to the world. Hayafoch kushi oro v'nomer chabar burusav. Can a black African change the color of his skin? That's the way it is. V'nomer, can a leopard change his spots? That's the way it is. Gam atem tuchlu lehetev limudei hareya. You who have become so habituated to do evil, Do you think you can change? Now, again, it's a little funny. In reality, we could change. But Hashem is saying, you're so enmeshed in your chait, it'll be a difficult process. As difficult as it is for a black man to change his skin to white, or for a leopard to get rid of his spots, how are you going to do tshuva? And therefore, v'afitzeim kekash over, I will scatter you like straw in the wind, l'ruach midbar, to the desert. Zeh gorelech menas midayich miti Hashem. This is your lot from me, says Hashem. Asher shachachtosi, you have forgotten me, again, like an unfaithful wife. Klal Yisrael described as a woman. V'tiftechi bashoker, you have put your trust in false idols. V'gam ani chasafti shulayach, I have exposed the edges of your skirts. Al panayich v'nireh kolonech, and your shame and humiliation will be exposed. Ni ufayach, your adultery. Umitzhalosayach, and your cries of joy and ecstasy as you worshipped Avodah Zarah. Zima sinusech, your promiscuity, both in terms of marital infidelity, and really Avodah Zarah is also described as promiscuity away from Hashem. Al gavais pasada, on every hilltop in a field, re'izi shikutzayach, I have seen your disgusting behaviors. Oy lach Yerushalayim, alas to you, Yerushalayim, loy titari, acharei masai oid. You will not be purified until all of these things happen. Now again, Hashem is saying you can do tshuva, but Hashem is saying, realistically speaking, you're not going to change, and if you're not going to change, there will be no purification till you go through the Golus and the Churban Masai, whenever that will be. That is the end of Perek Yud Gimel.